New year, not new me. What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel and to another video, and today we are starting one of my new series in 2026 where we are going to be doing a watch party of Demon Slayer. Now, a very obvious disclaimer, this is not my first time watching it, this is not a reaction, okay? I think I don't really need to explain myself when I say that I am already an established fan of the show. I'm literally just surrounded by Demon Slayer stuff, okay? It is my entire personality. So what we're gonna do is we're going to watch Demon Slayer together, and I'm gonna yap about it, and then you can yap about it in the comments with me. I also have volume 1 of the manga here with me. I actually have the entire series. I've never read any of the manga pre-Entertainment District, so I thought it would also be fun to kind of do some manga anime comparisons during this rewatch as well. So a couple things to expect for this. Number 1, you're not getting reactions out of me. The only time I'm going to keep parts where I'm like reacting to the anime is if I'm like crying or laughing, I guess, which is something that you can't really change just because you've watched it multiple times. But I'm gonna be pausing it a lot. I'm gonna be comparing it to the manga, all that fun stuff. So this is truly a yap session that just has the anime playing while we do it, if that makes sense. I have no idea how this is gonna go. This was just a random idea where I was like, I really wanna rewatch the show, but why not make it fun? Why not do it with all my subscribers? And if all goes well, we'll get more than one episode in per video, and then we can try and get through like the entire show leading up to the movie getting released, maybe episodically, or who knows, so we'll find out. But anyway, that's enough of me yapping because I'm gonna be doing it a lot in this video already. We're gonna dive right in, but before we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. Let's get into it. Tell me why I'm like nervous. This might be my 20th rewatch. Why am I nervous? I'm so excited. Okay, here we go. Just the shaky breath. And I'm like, I shouldn't be smiling. This is actually horrible. Every time this show starts, I can't get over how good the backgrounds look in Demon Slayer. I feel like people don't talk about that enough. Like, they talk about the animation of the show so much, but no one ever talks about how good they are at the backgrounds. It's crazy. So just a reminder, fun fact, this takes place on either December 29th or December 30th because it has to be after Nezuko's 13th birthday, which is the 28th, but it has to be before New Year's Eve because of what Tanjiro just said. So, fun fact. God, he looks so young. They did a really good job at like, he doesn't age a ton throughout the show, but he does just enough where it's like, why am I emotional? I love this show so much. Well. So fun fact, the first time my husband and I watched this, we were sitting on the couch and we were like, they're all dying. Like, there is literally no way. We were wrong though. One person doesn't die. I was contemplating saying this or not, but this is my outlet to yap, so we're gonna yap about it. I do not understand the timeline of when Tanjiro's dad, died, because in the flashback in Infinity Castle, Rokuta looks the exact same age as he does here, but Tanjiro looks exceptionally younger, which is literally impossible. Rokuta would be the one who would need to look exceptionally younger if this was like a year ago. Rokuta's what, 3 or 4 here? Something like that? Like, he's very young. So Tanjiro looks like he's freaking 8, 9, maybe 10 in the flashback, but Rokuta looks exactly the same. So that I think is an art mistake or just a continuity issue, because that is one of the things that I cannot narrow down is exactly how long it has been since Tanjiro died when this is happening. Because if you look at Tanjiro, it looks like it should have been a few years ago, but then Rokuta would have been like a baby when Tanjiro died. So it doesn't make any sense. And I don't think there's any like side material that tells us how long it's been, unless they say it in the manga. Let's look at the manga together. The art style has changed so much. This is what they look like at the beginning. They really like, a lot of the characters changed a little bit. Yeah, they just say they've been so lonely since dad died. They don't say anything time-wise. Just something that I'm calling out since I'm watching the very first episode. Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. Rokuta should have been like a baby in the flashback in Infinity Castle, or Tanjiro should have been more like how he looks here. Maybe just a tiny bit younger, but he looked a lot younger. Because that flashback was only 10 days before Tanjiro died. We do know that. Every time I watch this, I'm like, can we just have a different outcome here? Then there would be no story. Dun dun dun. Not the change in music there, just to make it sound like a horror film all of a sudden. This town looks like the little town my husband and I found when we were exploring the mountains of Nagano. Yeah, we were in Nagano, and all we did was go up a mountain just a little bit. We rented a car, and there was snow everywhere in the middle of April. So since this is like up in the mountains, that makes sense. It looks a lot like, obviously, like this town is a Taisho era town, but the buildings are still very similar. It's like bringing me back to being there. I like how they all just are like, it's Tanjiro. Can just ask him to solve all of our crimes. He should have been a detective. And they all just believe him too. That's how like trustworthy he is. Dun, dun, dun. Old man Saburo. Literally the MVP of all of Demon Slayer. Saved the main character in the first episode. Also, I've seen a lot of people say how it's like strange that he would stay over at this guy's house. He obviously knows him. He calls him not grandpa, but I mean, it's the word for grandpa, but they use it as like a term for just older people a lot. But if he's going up and down the mountain a lot, he knows who this guy is, and he probably knows the entire family super well. Like it's so obvious that he would trust this man, not just like go inside a stranger's house. I think it's funny that people are constantly like, why would he go inside a stranger's house? It's obviously not a stranger. He knew his name. Man, it really sucks that Tanjiro's first time hearing about demons is the night that his family is killed by them. Like, what timing? What horrible timing. Ugh. I always wonder how how did both of these characters ever find out about demons? Did Saburo lose his entire family? Like, I sometimes wonder if that's what they were kind of leaning the story towards, because Tanjiro said that his whole family is gone. So I kind of wonder if, did he lose his entire family also, Saburo? Or did he lose one family member? Or did he just run into one and somehow get saved by a demon slayer because he knows that the demon slayers exist? And then what about the grandma, the Kamado grandma? Because Muzan hasn't known about the Kamado family for hundreds of years. He's been trying to find them, but he hasn't figured it out until now. So how did the grandma know? Again, did she interact with demons when she was younger and get saved by a demon slayer? I always wonder. Like, some of the other characters that pop up throughout the show, we kind of find out why they like believe in the demons or are like knowing of the demons. It's because they've been saved in the past. But I always wonder, like, with these two characters, because we don't really learn anything about them, even though, like, literally it's Tanjiro's grandma. Anyway, it's just, like, interesting details to me. I'm like, please, I want to know. Oh, boy. The scene is always so hard to look at. It's so graphic. Okay, so many people say, like, why didn't he cry? Why didn't, like, he shows no emotions. First of all, he's obviously in shock. Like, obviously. That's not no emotions. I don't understand where that comes from. Second of all, he obviously is in, like, fight or flight. I don't think people realize, like, what he says right here. Nezuko's the only one who's still warm. Okay, you know what that means, right? He went to every single family member and checked for a pulse, checked for any vital signs, and he is literally in denial right now because he's saying that she's the only one still warm. He's not saying that she has a pulse. He's saying that she's still warm, which anyone knows that even after you have died, your body stays warm. It takes a while for it to completely cool down because it's been warm for as long as you've been alive, and it's a lot of stuff. Like, so I always read this as he's in complete denial right now. One, he's just in denial about his entire family, but two, in a normal circumstance, he's rushing his dead sister to a doctor. Like, that's what he's really doing right here. And that's so dark. And that, like, people brush over that topic, but this 13-year-old kid just got home, found all of his family bloodied and dead, but he checked for signs, vital signs on every single one of them. And he has chosen to take Nezuko to a doctor because she's still warm, not because she still has a pulse. That's denial. And, like, of course, we're about to see that she's a demon now, but it's so clear to me that his emotions are that he's in shock and denial right now. When something like this happens, where you get home to your entire family dead, I don't know if that's, like, gonna make you just sit there and cry. It might make you react in the way that he's reacting. And I find that to be, like, a very interesting character study in Tanjiro, because he's just, like, a 13-year-old kid in denial right now. Like, that's what's going on here, in my opinion. Like, he's in complete... He just does not understand. Like, is it a bear? But bears hibernate this time of year, which he knows. Like, he lives in a area where bears show up. We saw in the Infinity Castle. One thing that I really like about Demon Slayer is how many times they show you from, like, first-person point of view. I just think it's an interesting way of doing it. I feel like not a lot of other shows do it that many times. You believe in them now. So cute. Just, like, immediately we see his emotions, like, getting the better of him. Like, this is not the face of a kid who... Sorry. This is not the face of a kid who, like, has no emotion over his family. Like, he immediately is, like, also self-deprecating and is like, I wasn't there to save you. It must have hurt. You must have suffered. They all suffered. And he's not thinking about his own suffering here. He's thinking about how much it must have been painful for them. Like, this is not... He doesn't... Okay. I shouldn't vent about how people misunderstand the story so much. In a very intense moment. We've all seen this before, though. just too pretty. I want to replay the way he delivers that line. That's so interesting. He pauses right after he says the word kill. I find that like, I don't know what. Huh. It's like, I read that as Tanjiro like can't bring himself to say like killed his family. Like he has to pause after the word kill because I think again in his mind, he's like in denial. Like he's not fully processing yet what just happened. I could be reading into that line delivery way too much, but that's kind of how I read it. And I never noticed that before. It can be hard to notice some of the small nuances in the voice acting when you're reading the subtitles, but that's kind of how I see it. It's like he very specifically pauses. Minna korosu. That's so interesting. It's like he didn't, like he still can't bring himself to use that word about his family. Giyu, you're making it hard to focus with your beauty. I'm sorry. He's not wrong at this point to say that. Right. Emotionless. When you watch this episode, this seems so harsh to like yell at a kid who just lost everything. And of course, like we're about to see him kind of like actually, I think, show his true thoughts here in a moment. But knowing what we know about Giyu now, I genuinely think that he said all of those things because he sees so much of himself in this situation with like losing his sister, not being able to do anything, not being able to do anything with Sabito. And do I think it's correct of him to say these kinds of things to a young boy who is clearly completely broken because he just lost everything? No. And I think Giyu also is the type of person that doesn't fully, like, I don't know, like, understand. Sometimes you still need to, you can motivate someone without being mean to them, you know? But I think that he genuinely, like, just sees so much of his situation in what's going on with Tanjiro right now that he, like, those words that he said to Tanjiro are kind of for himself as well. Because we know, like, at this point in his career as a Demon Slayer, which I believe it said somewhere that this was supposedly, someone said this was his first mission as a Hashira, like his debut as a Hashira. I don't know if there's any canon material that backs that up. I haven't been able to find that, but that would be pretty interesting if it was. But he is like very clearly so, he doesn't believe that he deserves to be what he's, to be doing what he's doing, right? He's got this survivor's guilt and that sort of thing, and I feel like because he feels like he's not worthy of being a Demon Slayer, being a Hashira, like he wants Tanjiro to go down a different path than him, but Tanjiro acting this way reminds him of how he acted when like his sister protected her. I find that to be like interesting. I think Gyu's one of the most like nuanced characters in the story, and I love him so much. But he's actually a very kind person. He just believes that Tanjiro needs the other side. You would be dead. Like, what's so funny that he says that is because he's got to be aware that it was Muzan, right? Like, don't they all know that Muzan is the only one who can turn someone into a demon? So at this point, it's got to be, like, at least somewhat clear to Giyu. I also paused it on the beautiful frame of him. that Muzan is the one who killed Tanjiro's family. Doesn't he know that? And he's still like, oh, if I got here a half day sooner, it's like, you would just be one of the dead bodies up there. Let's be, like, you're very strong, but come on. Unless he thinks, I mean, it might be because there's an unknown about Muzan at this point in the story. I wish they would use this soundtrack more. I miss it. Goodness. The way he made the freaking air vibrate was like, okay, you don't need to go that hard on the teenage boy. I'm gonna fast forward to Infinity Castle. I'm gonna say something that I said on Twitter a while ago, but this episode right here is a perfect parallel to the fact that when these two are fighting Akaza together, Tanjiro is more of the brains of the fight. He's the one who's like analyzing everything and calling back to things, and he's the one who ends up like figuring out how to actually defeat Akaza. Giyu is the reason that he was able to do that, though, by holding the physical part of the fight where he was able to just hold his own for so long against Akaza. Both played an integral role in this fight, right? Like, if Giyu weren't there, Tanjiro would have died very early on. If Tanjiro weren't there, Giyu would have died later on and not defeated him, right? Like, they had to be a team, and that's like such a theme in Demon Slayer. But the way that Tanjiro ended up being the analyzer in that fight, to me, goes all the way back to here, where he like outsmarts Giyu here. Even though Tanjiro has zero fighting experience, he is able to come up with a plan in his extremely emotional state to, like, in Tanjiro's mind, I don't think he threw the hatchet at him thinking that it would hit him. I think it was to maybe shock him or scare him, or at least like cut his hair off or something along those lines. Maybe he was like, if this guy is dead, like at this point in time, he's just so emotional that he didn't really care. But the fact that, like, just looking at Giyu's face right here, like, this is genuine shock. He is shocked that Tanjiro was able to think of that much of a plan immediately, and is what leads him to doing what he's about to do. And I think that, like, the parallels of how the whole reason that Tanjiro becomes a Demon Slayer is because of this interaction with Giyu here, and fast forward to them fighting side by side against Upper 3, it makes so much sense that Tanjiro is analyzing everything while Giyu is like physically holding him off. And I like that. It's not to like discount either of them. They both have their strengths and their weaknesses in battle. That's human. They are human. That's a point of the story, right? But they had to work together in the ways that they did because they both have those different strengths. And I love that. The way his eyes move to this side are so, like... It's almost creepy, because... That was a fumble from Giyu. You're a Hashira, dude. They are the main characters, so they gotta be different. When did Giyu get the bamboo? How did he get the bamboo? Those are the kinds of questions I have watching this again. Some of my yapping is so unserious, I apologize. Tomioka Giyu. Okay, I have a theory. I have a theory here because he says she seems to be all right since it's cloudy now, but never let her be exposed to the sunlight. So, okay, I'm speaking with the assumption that those of you watching this have seen all of the anime. I'm not going to say like manga spoilers, but I'm assuming everyone who's watching this has watched all the way through Infinity Castle. So we know that Nezuko ends up conquering the sun. What if she was already, like always, at least mostly immune to it? She just was never put in a situation where she like fully became immune to it, because obviously it's not something you can just test out. Like not at any time could Tanjiro just be like, oh, let me just test and see if the sun will actually kill Nezuko. Like, he's not gonna do that, obviously, right? So what if, because the cloud cover shouldn't affect whether or not a demon is killed by the sun, because that would mean that any day that's cloudy, demons can just run rampant during the day, which I don't know if y'all know about the climate in Japan. It rains there a lot. It's an island. So, like, maybe not as much as certain other climates, right? But compared to like where I live, where we get rain approximately 2 weeks out of the year, when I was in Japan for a month, it rained like maybe even 50% of the time we were there, it was raining. So that to me is either a plot hole or Nezuko has always been immune to the sun. It was just not until the full sun was hitting her that it like kind of burned her a little bit and then she was fine. Personally. Possibly, it's just demons can be okay during big storms. Maybe it's more of a like, they just don't try it because the clouds could clear at any time. I guess that could also be a reason why, you know, makes it really not much of a plot hole, because they still can't go outside, because what if a cloud breaks and the sunlight hits you? So I guess that kind of makes sense as well. But that's just my theory. Like, what if the entire time she was actually at least somewhat immune, and then in Swordsmith Village she was forced into like full immunity. Bye, Giyu. Why is he so extra for no reason? Bye. I love him. I should not be laughing. I never promised this was gonna be normal, okay? I can literally not imagine burying, like he had to drag them all out on his own and bury them and probably clean some of the inside of the house. That's, ugh. And he's 13! This is his backstory, by the way. This first episode is his backstory. Overlooked. All right, so while the credits play, let's take a look at the manga. I believe chapter 1 is Cruelty, so I believe that means that just chapter 1 was adapted. Man, the art style is so different. This seems like pretty word for word, panel for panel. Look at how menacing they made Giyu in the manga. Holy moly. I am so glad they changed the art style of Giyu. Don't get me wrong, he looks good, but he looks way prettier later on in the story and in the anime. Thank goodness. Yeah, this is pretty much word for word. Chapter 1. And that's what I think is interesting, and I said this a lot when I was talking about like the Infinity Castle, is like I'm able to read this very quickly. Like this chapter, there's a lot of exposition, there's a lot of dialogue, but it doesn't take me long to read it. It takes me like 5 minutes to read it, but they have to stretch it into a 20-minute long episode. Like a lot of people complained that the Infinity Castle was like too much dialogue, too much like back and forth, and that's like because in the manga you can read it at whatever pace you want to read it. But in the anime, you are subject to the pace of the anime, of the way the voice actors deliver the lines. So that makes it like a very different experience. Jeez. They really make him look so angry. Wow, Giyu is way angrier in the manga. Oh my god. Why does he look like that? Sir, that's not an insult to anyone. I'm just like, man, he looks so, like, at a 13-year-old, sir. Like, calm down. It's so funny because he looks so angry in this panel, And then in this panel, he's just like standing there looking at him. It's like, oh, it's so funny. Yeah, it seems like chapter 1, this is like word for word. The only difference is that like the character art style, even in the manga, like very much changed later on because they look a lot different. Nezuko looks pretty similar, but like Tanjiro looks quite a bit different. Giyu looks quite a bit different. Word for word, panel for panel. All right, so yep, this just covers chapter 1. That's it, which I think is pretty common for anime pilots to only do 1 chapter for that first episode. So anyway, so that's my yap. I tried to keep it both just silly because that's me coping. This first episode is so freaking sad. Honestly, whenever I see like super young cosplayers or just young kids watching this show, I always think back on this episode and I'm like, kids must just be built different now than they were when I was that age, because if I saw a show like this at that age, I would have nightmares for weeks. If my parents were like, oh, should we let our kids watch this show, and they watched this episode, they would be like, no, like maybe 13. My parents were a bit more, they limited what we could watch. They were very, very like helicopter with what we could watch and what we couldn't watch. Because like I wasn't even allowed to watch Harry Potter. But it's like, I see young kids and then I watch this episode and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. The show, like, yeah, the art style, the colors, the characters all seem like kind of would cater to younger kids, but the story itself is so dark and it is a very gory story. Anyway, so that's the first episode. I think I'm gonna try and do 2 episodes per video, at least for the rest of season 1, for the most part. Probably episode 19 is gonna get its own video, let's be so for real. I'm gonna have so much to say about it. But I'm gonna try and do just 2 episodes, because otherwise it's gonna take me half the year to get through just season 1. And I do think that it is likely the Infinity Castle first movie might get released episodically in like the fall. And not to mention, I think the movie will come streaming a little bit sooner than that. So I'll have to figure out the timing of that. But if I can at least do mostly 2 episodes per video as of right now, that'll severely cut down. I think that would put me at ending season 1 sometime in April instead of like July, which makes a lot more sense. So that'll be the plan from here on out, but I've been yapping for 50 minutes. Was this a good idea? We'll find out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. If you are interested in me doing all of the show like this, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you all in the next one. Matane.